So let's talk about this commercial contract. We did an episode when I went to one of the first meetings. It was called W&W's. That's short for wages and working conditions. You put in motions, you raise your hand, you go up to the mic, and you say, "This has happened at an audition. I put in a motion to do A, B, or C." To hear the conversations of what happens and then what they eventually push through, they have this huge document. They push it to the negotiating board. The negotiating board did it all through March, I believe. They avoided a strike, got this contract. They sent it to the board. The board approved it. They're sending it to us members to vote on. Before we get into some of the nuts and bolts, if you're non-union, this a lot of this stuff applies to you. I mean, first of all, everyone kind of auditions for commercials because they're easier to get involved in, easier to see new talent. They pay often a lot better than TV. Even if you're in another country or you're in another region, it's kind of helpful to say, hey, this is how much we get paid for a commercial that is streaming on Netflix. And then in another country, an actor could say, well, this is how much we get paid. Wow.
Spoiler alert, it's always lower than America.
Yeah. I was trying to be a diplomatic way of saying that, but
Yeah.
yeah. So there was a huge concern about, obviously, if you have a national commercial that's on TV, on what they call linear TV. That's an actual TV set, ABC, NBC. I know who actually watches that, right? Those commercials are becoming fewer and more rare. What about all these bajillion commercials that are on Netflix, that are on YouTube, that are on Amazon, that are on Freevee, that are on Fubu, on Pluto, whatever?
On Zazzle, on Flob, on Frunch.
Yeah, exactly. Those sounded very Dutch.
Foodle.
So we made a huge gain. And I a lot of this is a shout out to the negotiating board because they worked their ass off and they avoided a strike to this point. We don't know if this contract is getting voted in. You have this week to vote it in, yes or no. Anyway, so the rates for streaming jumped up. A streaming platform, $10,000 for a year. That's a lot more than it used to be.
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but the way you get paid on linear TV or terrestrial TV is like you do cycles of when it's shown on these. Do you get paid per showing, or is it just being showed? Okay.
Yeah. It's essentially per cycle, usually 13 weeks. Like if you get a national commercial on, say, network, it's kind of amazing. They literally will show you the program that it was airing on. That's how specific it was. You would know. It's like, hey, Good Morning America. It played during there. And then it's playing on ESPN, NBA playoffs. Meanwhile, for streaming, they have all the data in the world and we still aren't getting paid per use.
It's funny because I just saw a commercial. I was watching SNL on Peacock with a pal of mine. It showed an ad that was for a pharmaceutical company, one of the big pharmaceutical companies. I won't name them, but to give them any more free publicity. But the ad showed 3 times in a row. I know because I know the actor in it, and I know for a fact that that was shot in Ireland. Because I know the actor in the ad, and he had posted something about it when he did it. He goes, "Oh, my first US ad." 3 times in a row this ad showed. I guarantee you he didn't get anything like the money he would have gotten paid in America for that commercial. But it's obviously non-union because it's being shot in Ireland. It's obviously, and a lot of those, I used to see it in voiceover as well. Like a lot of the pharmaceutical commercials are non-union. Yeah, so it's interesting that a commercial will be shown on a streaming service here that is only an American streaming service. I mean, Peacock doesn't exist because it's NBC. It doesn't exist outside of the US. But the ad would have been shot in Ireland, paid in Ireland, and aired here.
Yeah, and we're going to get into that because, last week we talked about productions going overseas. Commercials is literally right now facing that same problem. So remind me, so you did work a commercial in Mexico City.
I filmed a commercial.
What year was that?
Oh, 2022 maybe?
Oh, okay. So that was recent. Yeah. I mean, to be honest, that's probably around the time where it was popping up. So back to this, when streaming was really starting to hit and you see a internet commercial run 5 bajillion times, you think that the actor's getting a lot of money. They're not. A lot of those commercials, if you see it streaming on YouTube or Hulu or whatever, a lot of them were non-union. And either way, they were buyouts. Now, buyouts is very different than, say, what we were saying, getting paid per use. Buyouts is you get paid for a chunk of time, usually a year. They might throw you as little as $300. They might throw you as much as $500. They might throw you $5,000. The thing is those are still not SAG rates that we're talking about right now. So this is just helpful to know. This is not a judgment on non-union actors. This is just one of many, many things where non-union actors can realize, hey, this is what we believe is worth being streamed a bunch of times for a year. And you make that choice and you say, well, I need the money and I'll do it for $500. And then we get into this tricky territory of strengthening our union and trying to get more commercials to pay a standard wage. The other thing that was brand new in this is this prevalence of YouTube TV. YouTube TV is essentially like buying cable. So before this contract, YouTube TV ads were still considered YouTube. Cheapest, digital, pay for a small amount, run it a bunch of times. You see all these little loopholes? My mind was blown when I was listening to the W&Ws of all these actors, very educated, very like up with it. I'm like, wow, I was blown away. I was like, all these little things that they're trying to get around. Anyway, YouTube TV is its own entity. It's its own category, and the rates are higher. Like I said, streaming rates are higher. $10,000 for a year. It's a lot better than before. Is it as good as what we want? No, of course not. We didn't even want a buyout. We wanted Netflix to be like, hey, Netflix, you're bigger than Peacock, or you're bigger than a lot of NBC, ABC linear channels, and there's still a buyout. But this is what we have to deal with, and each contract is a step in the right direction. By the way, it's also acknowledged that YouTube has more reach than anyone. Right now, YouTube officially has more reach than anyone.
Wow.
AI was a step up as far as the strongest regulations that we have currently. The real danger is digital replicas, the digital copy of all the actors. They were being used in perpetuity. Basically means they were being used forever. If you're a non-union actor, you got to read your contracts. You might not have an agent. You might not have anyone watching out for you. This is kind of like the thing where you should probably watch out, because we're all fighting for the same thing. And I think what I'm getting at is these contracts is kind of like a blueprint for what we hope everyone else's contract will be. You work a non-union commercial. You're going to say, okay, we'll pay you $800. We'll use it for the entire year. We have control of all your likenesses. We will get consent for digital replica, and we will own it in perpetuity. Now, that right there is a red flag, but it exists. And what it means is they will own your digital replica forever.
Insane.
They tried to do that to us. They tried to do that to everyone. By the way, digital replica use. If you did a previous contract and you signed digital replica use in perpetuity, this contract will nullify that old contract.
Okay.
This contract right here.
That's
So
great.
it's one little step protecting, hey, that's not cool. And even if you signed it from before, we're getting rid of it. It's just one thing that a non-union actor has to watch out for